Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's a fear that most of us have, and we're going to help you overcome that fear today, because this is something that's very commonplace, especially since COVID, when a lot of things were being done by Zoom and still well accepted. We are going to work on your presentation skills today. Your fear of presenting to somebody, whether it's virtually or even in person. And they say one of the top 3 fears in life, if not the number one fear, is the fear of speaking in public. We're going to work with you on all of that. She's somebody that helps people with that and so much more, actually teaches people how to help others on their image. So this all comes into play as part of the International Image Institute. Karen Brunger joins us on the program again. Karen, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Very well. And we all have this. We all think about presenting, even if you have to talk to your boss. I mean, sometimes you have to present or bring it on, and that can bring those fears in. What's the first thing you think of? In a blanket statement here, when somebody is faced with having to do a presentation on a Zoom, in person, talk with people, what's the first thing that we should be thinking of?
Well, the first thing is, there's so many things. The first thing, when I'm asked to present, the first thing I think about is, what's my objective? How do I want my audience to feel? What do I want my audience to get from what it is that I'm presenting? Because sometimes when we have fear, it's because we're caught up in ourselves. We're thinking about, our feelings, but really, if we put it back into the audience, and what state do we want them to be in? What do we want them to be able to feel, or what do we want them to feel or be able to do, or actions to take, or whatever it is, whatever our presentation is about, to focus on that. It's all about the audience. And so we get out of ourselves and we start thinking about the audience and imagining that we are in that audience, and what would we want? What would our expectations be? And also focusing on how to surpass your audience's expectations, so that you're putting together a presentation that is not ordinary. It's the absolute best you can possibly do at that particular time for who you are. I can give you a good story about this if you want.
Sure. And I want to just drop in here, because I've always remembered, even in the broadcast world, it's not really what you say, it's how you left them feeling.
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. Yes. When I belong to the Association of Image Consultants International, when I first joined and they saw my credentials, they said, "Oh, Karen, you have to speak at our international conference." I thought, well, I've never even been to an international conference. So of course, fear flooded my body. It's like, oh my gosh, there's going to be hundreds of people there that they do what I do. A lot of them will have their own TV shows and they're best-selling authors, and who am I? And I started thinking, who am I? And they asked me to speak on presentation skills, right? So I put together a presentation that, from my own experience, that was not what everybody would be teaching, like not the traditional stuff that what people would teach in presentation skills. And I made it the very, very best I could. I mean, I just put everything into it, and I had little handouts, and I had my, all my visual aids ready. and then I let it go. I said, okay, you know what? I can only do the best I can do. That's it. There's no more preparation for me to do. And I think that's a key, is there can be no regrets. Like I prepared the very, very best. There's nothing more I could do. And so when I went to present, I just let it go. Okay, there's nothing more I can do. So I'm just going to do the best, be the best I can be. And it was really amazing, because I had to do the same presentation 3 times. So I was hoping no one would show up, but it was overcrowded. And then I did it the second time, and people rushed in. They said, "Oh my gosh, we heard this was the best presentation." I said, "Oh, really?" So again, I just did it the best I could. And the third time I did it, like all the big people in the association were there, all the big trainers and the president and the past president was like, oh my gosh. So I said, oh my gosh, we have the big people. And I did it again. Well, before I'd even finished, they hired me to do that same presentation for a whole day at the next conference. And that's when they also started in motion that I would become a president of that international association, which of course now I have been. So that was fun. So it was an example of being an extreme fear, but it's like, okay, but I need to, this is also an opportunity. So to see it as a way to, to really be out there and to shine. And we have the right to speak, we have the right to be heard. So that's one thing is I guess the bottom line there is committing to excellence, right? The other thing I did was reframe. So I realized, oh my gosh, I'm in such fear. And so, okay, you know what? Cancel out the fear. No fear, no. Take a deep breath and wow, I'm so excited. Because when you think about it, the same thing happens in your mind-body system when you're afraid as when you're excited, You think about, and it's a choice. It's just a choice we make. It's how we see the situation. So I deliberately saw it as an opportunity, as an exciting opportunity. It's like, and so the more, stuff going through my body, it's like, oh, then, wow, I'm really excited. So, what I learned to do is take that energy that's going through my body, my mind-body system, and channeling it into focusing it into that excitement and passion. So it's more focused as opposed to like, oh my gosh, I'm all over the place and I'm just afraid. But yeah, reframing it and calling it excitement. So that's a huge one.
Well, you prove something, and the research has been done on this many, many times over. And I think the figure right now is 93% of the things that we worry about never take place, never transpire. So you were fearing, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be great. It's not going to resonate with anybody. It was completely unfounded. In fact, it went in the other direction where you were fantastic and they hired you. You probably never saw that even coming, but you put all that worry in.
I know. And I think what happens when we start to visualize, when we start to expect positive things, so even though I didn't visualize that outcome specifically, like, it was like, wow, to be on the international board was really something. But I think when we habitually imagine good things, then good things happen even beyond what we can imagine. That's what I think.
Yeah, you're right. I think they call that manifestation. Because just expect the best. All good things are going to happen. This presentation is going to be great. I will say, even though I've been doing broadcasting forever, there's been times where I get or have gotten nervous, and it just, I was asked to do to be the master of ceremonies for the district attorney in our area. I don't do politics. I never met the man. I don't even know what he stood for. They just asked me to do it. So I researched. I was like, I'm comfortable with all that. And I think this would be a great opportunity and it'd be fun. That was a few years ago. For me, that was a career highlight because I didn't worry about it for the first time. I didn't even think of like what could go wrong. I had backup plans, even the audio. I'm a geek, so there was a little audio issue. I was like, in a break, I went back behind stage, tweaked everything. Everything's great. But I felt finally like after all these years, I didn't have to worry about it anymore. Like this went the way it should go. But the one thing that I always think of is the backup plan. If something were to happen, how do you recover from it? Some extra notes, whatever they may be. I always, I would go to networking meetings and have a prop. What's my prop? Starbucks gift cards. Yeah, we're going to do trivia, everybody. Who doesn't? Little things like that. I'm just top of my head, those things that I've found that kind of work for me along the way. And I'm sure there's a million different things that, you could share in terms of presentation skills.
Yeah, I really like what you said. Getting the audience to interact or to do something to engage them in some activity, and then it kind of takes the pressure off of us because now they get to do something, right? So a great backup plan is to have, and actually even to make sure, especially if we're doing something that is, if we're speaking longer than well, even half an hour, even doesn't matter, even if we're talking for a few minutes, to have some type of interactive exercise.
Yes.
That also helps to engage the audience, right? And helps whatever your message is to it makes it stronger, so it's easier for them to get what you're trying to put across, right?
Sure. And you never know what's going to happen when you're doing that. It's almost like, you look at a comedian on stage and then something happens in the audience or somebody does something and he points them out and just, has a little bit of fun with them. It could be the same way now that you've included the audience. They could give you an answer that's a little odd. Hey, wait a minute. Let's look at that, everybody. You never know what's going to happen, but you have to make it happen by taking those next steps.
Do. And a big part of it is focusing on the feeling that you want your audience to have.
Yes.
Like being in that state. One of the exercises I have my students do when I teach the presentation skills in person is, I didn't bring them up to show, but I have actually divining rods. And so what we do is we have all the people move to one side of the room so their energy does not interfere. And whoever we're testing, they go to the opposite side of the room. So whatever size our room is. So it's great if it's a huge ballroom, because then one person goes to, one side of the room, and I hold up my little divining rods, which measure energy. And first I have them feel nervousness. Like think of something, I have them go through a scenario of they're standing in front of an audience and they're nervous and they're not prepared. And then I walk towards them with my divining rods, and they don't close to measure any energy until I'm right physically on top of the person. And then I go back to the opposite end of the room and I say, okay, now, imagine love, or this powerful love is filling up your body. So their eyes are closed. They're imagining love is filling up their body. It's going out of their head, out of their fingertips, out of their toes, and it's filling up the room. And as I'm standing there still with my divining rods, we can actually feel when the energy gets to us and my rods open.
Wow.
To show that their energy has now filled up the room. So that's the kind of state you want to be in when you're presenting. So your energy feels big, like you filled up the room, and it's filled up with loving, positive energy, because that kind of high state is that's where your audience will get it, right? So that whatever you're feeling, if you're feeling this loving power and whatever that, joy and fun, and that's what you're filling up the room with, your audience is going to feel that, and they're going to be engaged right from the beginning.
Love that.
Yeah.
See, you brought a prop. I love that. What are some of the intentions that we can set to bring that energy on? One thing that clicks in my head right away is relatability. If they can relate, or you can relate to them, even if it's the weather, even if it was a snowstorm getting in here, everybody, and it's a common ground. That was the first thing I thought of. But what can you set the intention to bring on that very much so positive energy?
Yeah, and that usually starts from the very beginning. So, in terms of what we're presenting, or in the introduction of our talk, one way is to share how we're related. This is how I'm related to this audience. It might be that, I know somebody in the audience, so I can refer to that person, or, express pleasure in them and appreciating for whatever that particular group has done. So it's acknowledging who they are and sharing what we do have in common. The other thing to do that to help with relatability is to share a personal story of our journey, of why we're presenting on that topic, that we've gone through whatever it is that we're teaching on or speaking on, that we've been there, that, or we're with them. So it's like our vulnerability story, so that they can see, oh yes, now, so it's not about what degrees you have or how many books you've written. I mean, that could be nice, but it's really about what journey have you taken, right? Or what journey are you on? And that's what can engage people, because they can see themselves on that same journey.
So basically a story. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story, right? Yeah.
It's interesting too. You could take that and refocus it. And, depending on the presentation, maybe they know your story, maybe they don't, but you could just reach out to anybody in the audience and get their story.
Absolutely. Yes. And and depending on the type of, presentation you're doing, I do some really in-depth workshops where there's a lot of processing and transforming and people are changing, so people will be crying. We always have boxes of Kleenexes out, and
Wow.
and that is, especially in those situations, absolutely, it's really, really important to share, and that and creating a safe, letting them know this is a safe place, that whatever is said here stays here, so that people can have whatever experience that they need to have, right?
Mm.
Um, yeah. The other thing that I do to keep the audience open and engaged is, at the beginning, I tell them I'm sharing my experience. I'm sharing, this is how I do it. So they don't have to do what I do. I'm just sharing what I do. So then they're more open, because I'm not telling them what to do. Oh, this is what you need to do. I would never do that. But I'm sharing, okay, well, this is how I do it. And so these are some options, and I'm inviting them, if they want, to check out these options of what check out my systems or processes. And so then people are not, well, I'm not listening to this. This is, they're more open, because I'm not forcing anything down them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Other ideas. All right. Let's say we're faced with even a Zoom presentation. I have a friend that had to do one last week and the week before, and she was a little apprehensive. I said, "You're going to be fine. You know what you're talking about." I said, even if you have to put post-it notes around your screen, just little things that, if you have to fall back on, or pretend they can't even see you. We worry about that, or shut your view off, so you're only looking at the others. Um, tips there? Any thoughts? Or is virtual presentations essentially kind of the same as just in public, in person?
There are a lot of similarities. So, like, even me speaking here with you, I'm loving you, right? So I'm feeling really positive thoughts towards you. I don't know if you can feel that, but
I always do it. I said that last time we got together, not even knowing you were doing that, but your passion shines through. It
yeah.
does.
So for me, fun is important. So I think, even on Zoom calls, whatever it is, to have fun. I mean, my gosh, what's life about anyway? It's not all about being serious. So, and sometimes I think having fun makes whatever message we're putting across, makes it easier to take, right? Even if you could be talking about kitchen drain pipes. If you find kitchen drain pipes really exciting, and you let your natural humor come out with kitchen drain pipes, your audience will think kitchen drain pipes are the most exciting thing in the world,
I
right?
agree. I agree. And let's go back to relatability. We can all relate to that. There is something there. I mean, if you threw the ball to me now, kitchen drain pipes, the first thing I come up to is my cat always drinks from the faucet, which, then I got hair in the sink, not to be gross. And it's like, dude, why do I have bowls of water? We can relate to kitchen drain pipes if you make it fun.
There, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. So sometimes people say, "Oh, it's the topic," that they have to deliver a boring topic or a really kind of logical topic. But it doesn't matter what kind of topic it is. You can still incorporate your warmth and, yeah, your personality into it, right?
There's always something if you allow your creativity to flow. And a lot of times I feel that we lock it up because we're just afraid to express ourselves. You could even start kitchen drain pipes. Here we go. Trivia. Anybody here? There's only one. That's Karen. What is the busiest day for plumbers out of the entire year?
So there you go.
What day is it? What day is it? What day do you think it is?
Maybe Christmas.
It is the day after Thanksgiving.
Ah,
And, traditionally they call it Black Friday, with all the sales going on. Plumbers call it Brown Friday.
wow.
Leave it at that. That's top of my head. I don't know why I know that garbage.
There you
but you could lighten up the whole
Right.
kitchen drain pipe
Yeah, incorporate
situation.
humor, and you mentioned creativity. Sometimes it could be having like a really creative metaphor or prop or something that's like, "Whoa, what's this?" And it makes people think, and it also makes the topic more memorable. Yeah.
Sure. I do believe if somebody senses that you're nervous,
Mhm.
it's going to throw things off a little bit
Oh,
in terms of energy.
absolutely. Yeah. If whatever you're feeling in front of an audience, your audience will get that feeling. They will
Yeah.
get it. And then what happened? Then credibility, of course, starts to go down. So it's really important even to start off like how you like to be prepared, to know who your audience is, to make sure all the outside stuff is taken care of. So when you come out on stage, now here's a couple tricks to even coming out on stage. So the first thing is to make sure you've done lots of movement before you come out on stage, so that you've got the energy flowing properly through your body. What I like to do is I like to be at the back of the room while I'm being introduced. So now I have to walk, because the more physical activity we do, the more the energy gets to flow properly and not get stuck into fear. Okay. So I like to walk up through the audience while once I'm being introduced. So when I get up on stage, so this is really important. Do not stand behind a podium ever for any reason. Not a good idea, because what you're physically doing is blocking yourself from the audience. So it's really amazing, because if I just hold up something in front of me, I've now blocked myself. This is my
totally. I can feel it. I can see it. But not just there's an object in front of Karen. No, I feel like you're blocked.
Right. And so a podium is, whether you're holding up something in front of you or standing behind a podium, you're physically blocking yourself, and your energy is being cut off, and the audience won't get you to the same degree. Now, from that, just as a little side note, where you can put something in front of you, but it's only for a few seconds, is let's say that you're selling your book. So I have my book here. Now, if I want to show people my book, I will put it over my heart, because it's my book, it's close to my heart, and I might tap my book, and that anchors in that my book, but that's only for a few seconds, and then I put it away, right? So that's the only exception, is when you have something in front of you. It's only for a few seconds, and it's on your heart. Yeah.
But so can I jump in real quick? Yeah. Sometimes we got to deal with the podium. It is what it is. But if you can look at it this way, stand to the side of it, you can still look over and see your notes, and just move the microphone over. A lot of times it's on a gooseneck and it can be directed to you, but that's a great tip.
Yeah, that's always what I do. If there's a podium and the microphone, sometimes the microphone's attached to the podium. Now, here's the other thing. If we're asked to present, we want to find out the room setup beforehand, because if we, like one time, this happened to, oh my gosh, do I have a story for you?
I get it.
Okay, cut it short. The worst presentation I ever made, which was a complete disaster. There was a podium with a wall beside the podium, a wall behind the podium, stairs to the other side of the podium, and posts in front. And it was elevated, and everybody was eating, and no one was paying attention, because it was like a breakfast workshop, and I was enclosed. I was surrounded. So I gave my opening and my closing, and I said, I'm not doing this, and I got down. So I learned, okay, so next time I gave a presentation, I said, how is the room set up? I need to make sure. And they said, well, we have the podium with the microphone. I said, I will need, excuse me, I will need a microphone separate from the podium. I will need a handheld or a lavalier or something.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to be standing behind a podium. And so they set that up for me. So ideally, if you're the main presenter, you make sure the room is set up exactly how you want it to be, where you can get away from a podium, where everything, even the chairs. Okay, so the next presentation I gave was at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto, which was like a huge hotel. And so I'd set that up, the microphone, everything was, and they all said, my gosh, you were a born speaker. This was the best presentation we've ever had. This is incredible. And the feedback was like over the top. So I spoke to their group then in, I think it was Boston. And I learned even more, because at that group, everybody was sitting at round tables, because I was the after dinner speaker. So I said, I want to focus it on energy more. So then in Boston, I said, okay, this is how I want the room set up. And I had them set up the chairs with no tables. I said, I will speak after your lunch, but it needs to be, all the tables need to be taken away. It has to be in an area where there's chairs only, no tables. And then everything was set up in a semicircle. The chairs were in a semicircle, set up to be wide and shallow. So then I had easy access to everybody in the audience. And it just made it way more energized. I got the same feedback from there. It's like, oh my gosh, we've never seen this group so energized. It's like, this is amazing. So okay, those are my tricks.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And they're so spot on. And I'm thinking back to, situations I've been in. And yeah, like the one I mentioned before about the district attorney. I went that morning, and I went days before. When I mentioned that there was a tech issue, sound and everything, I already knew where to go. And just because I surveyed the room, I even asked, all right, where's the bagpipe, police people coming out of? What do we got over here? What do we got over there? I feel it also increases your confidence, because it's almost as if you visualize what it's going to be like. You've already been there. You're already halfway there. You're in the room.
And you made it your home. Like, it's your home space.
Right.
It's your space, and you own it.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you for saying that. You own even more of it, because you are sometimes at the mercy of the sound person, of the whoever's producing the event, all of that. But if you can intertwine with them and maybe make a suggestion, like you said, yeah, you know what, gonna move the tables. It's going to be more effective if we do that. Great tips today. Yeah, really, really good. Those are those little nuggets of information that mean so much. And the podium thing, it completely. And if you talked to me 5-10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said this, but in learning about energy, it blocks your energy. You're projecting your energy out. But why are they there? Because they want to hear you. They want to feel the love. Your love is blocked by that podium. Yeah, that's good stuff. I know that you offer, Karen, training to others to show them how to do this, how to teach people in terms of their image, presentation skills, which is a major part of what you do. And of course, the books and everything. How do we find you?
You can find me. Well, my website is imageinstitute.com. And of course, there's the contact form, and everything is there. So it's easy to get me from my website. And then my email is my name, Karen Brunger, at imageinstitute.com.
And that's spelled Brunger.
Right. Yes.
And Karen with a K, KarenBrunger.com. Great talking with you today. Learned a lot, and at the very least, reinforce things that I was thinking of. Loved it. Good stuff. And look forward next time we get together.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was fun.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.